know when you have like a butterfly and they're in that cocoon stage, the only way that they were able to come out and look as beautiful as they do with their wings was to struggle out of a cocoon. It's not about changing who you are. In order for you to grow, there has to be some kind of change, rather than looking at it about like, don't change, like, keep growing.
I was quite fortunate. I had a good upbringing. So my parents brought me up with the foundation of going to church. So going to church was a must do every week. All we did was play sports, go to training, play a bit of footy on the weekend, go to church on Sunday. Um, that was a normal week for me. But like even during school, so going to school, I had to, because we weren't really that blessed financially with my parents. I had to do a bit of me and my brother had to do a bit of asparagus picking in the mornings, early hours in the mornings before going to school when it was in season. I hated it that way. I hated waking up early and just having to work and then go to school. I look at it now; it's kind of a blessing in disguise, because just understanding, the value of hard work. Yeah, it was a bit of a grey area for me. I love going to school. I love going to St. John's. But towards the back end of my senior year, I was trying to find out who I was as a young PI at the time. So up until then, I knew what I wanted. I already knew what kind of career I wanted to take in, but up until year 12, things started getting shaky. My family decided to make a shift over to Oz. My older brother had a part in that. It was just, I think my parents just felt like we weren't safe here. It's a dark place. I was doing a lot of things that I wouldn't normally do. It happened on my 21st. So the offending happened on my 21st. Had the fams, had the boys around, we just wanted to have a have a good yarn and a good time, and um their goal was for me to get smashed. I got smashed, bro. Long story short, went towards the end of the night, got into a bit of a car accident. And I hit this guy. He had a family too, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. And yeah, I put him in hospital. I beat him so bad that I was waiting for a phone call in the cells that night. Um, so yeah, just when I think about it now, bro, I was shooting myself. Like I didn't like I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. So after about a year on bail, did my best to stick to the conditions, and then coming to my sentencing, the everything was looking good. My lawyer was saying that, oh, you should, you should be expecting about 12 months max. And I'm like, okay, sweet. 12 months sounds pretty good to me. So my family, yeah, they were there. Um, we all had plans after the sentencing because we're going based off what my lawyers were saying. So I was thinking, I'm going to go home. So I didn't even have any clothes packed. So I wasn't even prepared, bro. So you can imagine, like, I was in shock. The first thing, I looked over to my parents, looked over to my mum when they said the sentencing, and she just broke down. I'll tell you a bit of mixed emotions, I was more sad and just in shock and angry. If I was to sum it up, it was kind of like, okay, there's no hope.
I love my childhood in Flaxmere. Just homey. It's all I know, really. Small, but everyone knows each other. We've lived down the same street for all my life. Like, my parents are still at the same house. Our house was literally called Mini Pack and Save because it's like yellow and green. And so, like, yeah, like everyone just, if you needed directions, I'm like, oh yeah, then go past Mini Pack and Save. So it was like everyone always knew. If they didn't know you personally, they just knew of you and your family. I did enjoy my first part of college. I didn't enjoy my last couple of years. I was always like a real loud girl. Like, I can honestly say, if somebody asked me what I was like in college, they'll be like, oh, she was so loud and all that kind of stuff. But I think deep down, there were some insecurities around, like, yeah, like your classic bullying. I actually had like mental health stuff that I actually hadn't dealt with at the time. So I didn't know what it was, because back then it was like, how do you say it? Like, it's not talked about now, like how it is now. Everyone knows like mental health's a thing, but back then, like, nah, you just don't know. Like, there wasn't a thing. There wasn't any really programs out there, and if there was, then it was like on a smaller scale. It's so true that you can't. Mental health doesn't look like anything. Like, does it look like an emo girl in the corner? Like I reckon people wouldn't have seen that back then. But because I was so loud and out there, it was almost like that mask. There were inner issues that were happening when I was younger, but there are things that I know, looking back on it now, I know had happened, but I wasn't aware of it until now, because I've gone through this process of hitting rock bottom many times, but my main times that it's happened is during my college time, and then as an adult, about 2 years ago now. Honestly, the turning point for me was I gave my life to Christ. I had moved back home, things started changing. I was still using drugs. I was still feeling depressed. But I was in the church, like, I couldn't make sense of it. Like, Lord, like, I'm here, I'm like with you, I'm serving, and I can't understand why I'm still feeling like this. And I just remembered I had everything planned. So I hugged my friends at work, said goodbye, like already said bye to all my family, like in the morning. And then I'm about to like go head towards my car. And then my friend Sharona was like, sis, let's go to the beach. And I was just like, oh, I'm good, sis, like, I'm pretty tired, eh? So I was like, oh, yeah, okay then. Like, let's go to the beach. The thing I pictured when I was looking at the ocean. And he's like, Lord, help me, I'm drowning. And he's like, and then the ship comes by and he's like, hey, hop on the boat. And then he's like, oh, nah, it's all right, I'm waiting on the Lord. And then the boat goes, and he's like, Lord, help me. And then another boat comes. He's like, hey, hop on, like, we got you. He's like, it's all right, I'm waiting on the Lord to save me. And then he dies. And then he goes to heaven and he says, Lord, why didn't you save me? He goes, I did. I sent you 2 boats. And I felt like at that time the Lord was like putting on my heart, like, I've sent you many boats. And I felt like this person, like, having like Sharona, like, putting me up and stopping me there. I felt like if I didn't take this boat, this would be the last boat. And I just bawled my eyes out, looked there, and I was like, sis, if I go home tonight, I'm not going to see you tomorrow. And when I see what I see, she just knew what I meant. So she was like, I didn't even care, like, you're not going home. Took me to ED. Told them, she's like, please, like, you need to take my friend in today. You do have enough faith and you do have enough fight in you. And so I'm going to send you back. From there, like, for me, sis, I was like, let's do this! Like, so, like, everything from there, I was like, I'm doing this for me. Like, this is for me. Like, I have to fight. One thing that's remained the same in it is like God's remained the same in every single situation. Like, he's never left. He stayed there consistently with me, even when I didn't think he was there. So it's only God. And everything now that has happened in my life, like the great things, has been fruition from having freedom from those things. Our parents already knew each other when basically when we were born. When we used to go to this little church that's literally like down the road from here at Hawkes Centre, we just so happened to live down the same street too. What Peter didn't know is that I had like this really like big crush on him when we were little. I finally built up the courage to say something when he told me he was moving to Australia, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's now or never. Like, I have to say something. So my mum was like, darling, Peter's last night, he's going tomorrow. Take the green van and here's some money. Go and take him out for dinner. We went to Bollywood and Hastings, had dinner, and he was off like the next day. And so we basically didn't see each other for 10 years.
Yeah, it was a powerful moment because we weren't too sure what was going to happen. But deep down, I knew this person is somebody that I want to be with because, one, I had a dream, and this is at a time where I was really close with God, really close with the Lord. So, and there was no doubt, there was no feelings of doubt at the time.
Yeah.
So I knew she was the one. So yeah, we start from there.
But he still wasn't too sure. He wasn't sure.
Like I said, I was 100% committed.
He honestly wasn't too sure, and which was fair enough, because like if you think about it, you've spent like a long time in prison. For me, I've lived my life out there, dated how many people. Like, I've kind of like lived a life where I know like what I want, whereas Peter's kind of like just come out, and it's like, am I sure? Like, so I could understand. It's so true. Like, you got to find yourself and like learn that self-love and build that relationship with God, and he will provide. Like, he's a God that will provide, and his plans will come to fruition. The first time that we dated, the timing felt off, but I just remember as soon as I felt I had feelings, I just went straight to my pastor, and I was like, I'm talking to this guy, it might be nothing, but I feel like there's something, like, can you help guide me? And then she just like walked me through it. And then, I ended up being like, okay, he's still not too sure. I need to make sure he's sure. So I booked the flight. Went to Auckland. And if there's one thing I know, my parents, like, we can say all we want, like, that mother's intuition. You can say all you want when you're like, oh, yeah, it doesn't really exist. Nah, like, I can tell you now, my mother's intuition about relationships for me was so on point. Like, she knew when it wasn't the one for me. But for some reason, when it was with Peter, and I went and I hopped on a plane. Like, my mum was supporting it. She's like, yeah, that's all good. Like, Dad dropped me off to the airport, and it just felt like, wow, man, like, they would never let me do this. Hopped on the plane, went there, and then, the first time we saw each other in 10 years, and it was the best feeling. Like, it felt like time hadn't passed. Like, it was like I dropped him off after Bollywood and then saw him the next day. Like, that's honestly how it felt. So And then the rest is history. We just built from there, really.
I'm most grateful for my parents. They're a key part in where I'm at now, and just God's love, you know. I can't explain it though. When He's so good to you, even when you feel undeserving, it's like,
yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, He's really yeah, just blessed me. Yep, and testimony.
So looking back now, I'm grateful. Like, it's literally that no regrets thing. Like,
Hard.
I have to, and I want to, and I am grateful for going into mental health. Like, I've always said this, is it wasn't the best time of my life, but it was the best thing for my life. And so, and that's only God. So I'm grateful for God's grace and His restoration and His provision through it all. And I'm grateful for people who never gave up on me.
Yeah.
You know, as much as we want to say, like, yeah, our parents, like, sometimes we can say, yeah, because of my parents and how they brought me up, you know, they don't know what they don't know. But one thing I know for sure is my parents never gave up. Like, they never gave up on me.
It's a spiritual thing for me, man. Like, just trust in the Lord. You know, I've learnt that over the years. When you put your trust in people, certain people, not all people, but when you put your trust in people, most, 9 times out of 10, feeling disappointed, or you get let down. But if you actually, whatever you're going through, whether it's like just whatever you're going through, depression, suicide, or whatever, or if you're in jail, sitting in jail, just trust in the Lord. Die to the cross. Just put everything, give it to Him.
Yeah.
Because it's like He will carry that burden.
You know, when you have like a butterfly and they're in that cocoon stage, like, the only way that they were able to come out and look as beautiful as they do with their wings was to struggle out of a cocoon. So it's like, there has to be some kind of struggle, there has to be some kind of test. And so without a struggle, there is no, like, there isn't that ending part to be able to come back. This is my testimony.
The Lord.